All right, MMA Al Dente fans, welcome to the show. I'm here to review Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos. This video is sponsored by Acadia Water. Water for poor people. All right, Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos. This whole fucking card was awesome. This event was great, despite the two cancellations and the one cancellation during the event, which sucked. And that was supposed to be the third fight from the top, Romanov versus Chase Sherman. Anyway, the whole event was awesome. There was some horse shit, like the Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson fight. But there was a lot of great action here. Great submissions in particular, which I love submissions. All right. Let's start at the top. Jessica Andrade versus Amanda Lemos. Speaking of submissions. This one, I got it wrong. I picked Amanda Lemos to win. I thought she'd win via knockout, and I thought she'd be touching Jessica Andrade up, which she was for a good 2 minutes or whatever. But Jessica Andrade just seized that one opportunity, the first one that came her way, and got the first standing arm triangle in the UFC, which was amazing. She finished her standing. Lemos collapsed to the ground afterwards, but that was fucking awesome. We've seen a few nice arm triangles like that, but nothing get a finish. Matt Riddle took out fucking somebody. I would get it. If you had the four names in front of me, multiple choice, I'd be like, oh, it was that guy. Fuck, I just had it too. But anyway, he put somebody away, Matt Riddle, but it was on the ground. He locked it up standing and then rolled to the ground. But this one was standing. She just caught her against the cage, and you could tell immediately when she locked it up, I mean immediately, that Amanda Lemos was in trouble. I don't know what it was particularly, but she had like this weird grimace on her face immediately. And it only got tighter. Jessica Andrade spun around, followed her, just cinched it in tighter, kept herself really tight. And she's such a brick shithouse at that weight class. She's so fucking strong that I don't think Amanda Lemos had a chance once it got locked up that tightly. And they were dry and everything else. So, great win. Jessica Andrade is one of the premier finishers in WMMA history. And, I don't know, I guess you could say she's the best. But probably not. I mean, you just look at somebody like Ronda Rousey, But Jessica Andrade is awesome, and she's definitely the best when it comes to being versatile. Even though you got contenders there like Valentina Shevchenko's got submissions and knockouts, but Jessica Andrade has a lot of great knockouts and a lot of great submissions. This is her best submission, and her knockouts, she's got the Kovacevic knockout, the Chukagan, whoever the hell else, Jessica Penne, I think. I don't know. Anyway, Jessica Andrade is I guess you can call her a WMMA legend at this point. She's been around, a contender in like many different weight classes, and this was her taking out a future contender, in my opinion. Maybe even a present contender. This was, I think, if Amanda Lemos won this fight, she'd be fighting for a title. So this was a great victory to get it done in such spectacular fashion, giving us the first arm triangle, and on top of that, just getting a big victory at this weight class, which was her weight class. This was a great night for Jessica Andrade. Huge night for the veteran. I always like it when the veteran wins. The only thing that can make me root against a veteran is a knee bar specialist. And that brings me to the co-main event. That was a nice transition. Claudio Puelles taking out Clay Guida. This was fucking awesome. Puelles is, he's a specialist at this point. He says he never trains it and whatever, but he's got 4 knee bars. He hit 1 on the Ultimate Fighter. He's got 3 in the UFC. And the way he locked this thing up on Clay Guida, who, despite him being susceptible to submissions, as I mentioned during the pre-fight, he's still a very good grappler, and this was just fucking beautiful. Puelles was working other submissions too, triangle, omoplatas. He looked really good and really aggressive from the bottom. As soon as Clay Guida was on top, I knew this is not going to be, Guida by decision, not easily anyway. And Pugliese was really working him from the bottom. Guida didn't really have one moment there, I thought. And then out of nowhere, he locked up that knee bar. You could see him when he started framing with that inside leg, his left leg, he brought it inside. And you could see him just thinking, I could probably get that leg in 1 or 2 motions. And he did. And it was game, set, match in what, like 2 minutes? That was an excellent victory. I know Clay Guida's not the highest level fighter in the UFC, you know. He's right there with like Jim Miller, who beat him in, you know, with a quicker submission. I guess he's a level below like Jim Miller, and these are great veterans, some of our favorite fighters. Jim Miller is my favorite fighter. But Claudio Pugliese showed he's an excellent fighter. This guy is what now, 5-0 or 6-0 in the UFC? I think he's 5-0 now. That's incredible. And to do it with 3 knee bars, I remember saying the last time he got that knee bar on Chris Gritzmacher that he's like a phenomenon already with 2 knee bars, and they were both 3rd round knee bars, and one of them was an excellent comeback. So Pugliese is a very exciting fighter. I can't wait to see him fight better fighters, to be honest. But that one worked out. I really hammered that home. That's what, you know, gave me betting success, is the plus 175 for under 2.5 rounds. You know, Claudio Pugliese is a submission guy, no doubt. And he was going against a guy who is a bit of a submission trap, as they say. So, Romanov. Alexander Romanov versus Chase Sherman. Fight was pulled, but I'm pretty sure Romanov would have won via TKO. No, that fight is going to be taking place next Saturday. They already rebooked it. We're not going to say the same for Manel Kopp, because he's got to deal with some horse shit. You know, he's tested for picograms. And I'm inclined to believe he didn't cheat. He released a statement, you know, whatever. Call me a fucking sap or whatever. But I believe he didn't cheat. He just got caught with some shit that, you know, traces of horse shit and whatever. But anyway, it's enough for the fight to be canceled. Hopefully that fight gets rebooked. So the third fight from the top was Macie Barber versus Montana De La Rosa. This was a good battle. There were 2 clear rounds, I thought, for Macie Barber, 1 and 3. Round 2 was a toss-up. And Montana De La Rosa was game throughout. You know, she was just a little weaker, I thought. You know, going into the fight, what I expected was Macie Barber to win with athleticism. And generally speaking, that's what I feel like happened. Size, strength, and athleticism, and whatever. She's tough to bully. And Montana De La Rosa, despite being a dog and whatever, she's a very technical fighter. So she wasn't able to impose her technique on a superior athlete. Macie Barber is really tough to wrangle and dominate, and she's got good grappling and good scrambles herself. You know, she's a very young fighter, still learning and whatever, but she's still a beast, and she's very technical in there too. You know, maybe not striking wise, but grappling wise, she showed good defensive grappling. Montana De La Rosa is a fighter who, if she gets your back, she pretty much wins the round. She's taken out a lot of fighters in the UFC from back control, and I don't even mean finishes. I mean, you know, most of her victories come when she's able to dominate you on the ground. And Macie Barber was put in precarious situations in round 1 and round 2. I don't think really round 3, but she reversed. She's hit a nice reversal in round 2. Round 1, I don't think she ever gave up her back. I forget what exactly happened, but then she hit a nice takedown herself. She was getting her hips up high and really working well in the clinch, and she just proved to be too much for De La Rosa. De La Rosa didn't look bad at all. She was a game fighter. I thought her worst round was round 3. And that's never great, I suppose, but she's tough as all hell, Montana De La Rosa. She's always going to be tough to put away, and she's going to be one of those fighters who's hanging around the UFC for a long time. Not just because she's pretty. She's fucking beautiful, in my opinion, but she's a very good fighter. And this was a great win for Macie Barber. Really good win. She's got a lot of really good wins. You know, her losses didn't look good, but her wins over girls like Montana, J.J. Aldrich, who she put away with strikes, you know, that's a win that's only getting better with age. And these girls, Montana and J.J., they're going to be around. So, good win for Macie Barber. Maybe she is the future. I don't know. I still thought she lost 3 in a row there. But, you know what I'm saying? I thought she lost the Miranda Maverick fight. But she didn't. She got the decision. All right. Next up was Charles Jourdain versus Lando Vannata. That was fucking awesome. Charles Jourdain hit a beautiful submission, guillotine choke. And Lando Vannata is somebody who... he was choked, of course, by Tony Ferguson. But I think that's it. I always thought he had really underrated jiu-jitsu, or at least maybe that's what I heard or whatever. But it was a surprise to see him get choked in this fight. I could have seen either guy, really, Vannata getting finished in round 3, just because Jourdain's that type of beast. He's a round 3 beast, but this was, you know, a great one-round fight. He got it done in one. Vannata, I remember, slammed him down, and I think Charles Jourdain set up the guillotine from the guard, right? Or maybe there was some little scramble or whatever. But I know he readjusted and whatever and did a lot of work from the guard. It was a great submission for Charles Jourdain. He's got a strong grip, you could tell, because he did make a lot of adjustments there. And he was giving Vannata trouble with one arm, I think. He was giving him trouble with one arm and kept readjusting. And that was beautiful. And Vannata is a tough son of a bitch. We've seen him in 3-round wars and getting his ass kicked for 3-round wars, and he doesn't go away. And this was, you know, a clean finish. It sucked. He was reluctant to tap, but Charles Jourdain got him. So great win for Charles Jourdain. And that only makes his loss to Julian Rosa seem that much cooler, because Julian Rosa got a nice victory over him last year or whatever. So, but no, whatever. I don't want to take away from Charles Jourdain. That was an excellent performance. And then he called out Edson Barbosa, which, yeah, sign me up. And next up, Marc-Andre Barrio took out Jordan Wright. Fuck. Maybe that was the one-arm guillotine. I think that was the one arm. That was the one where he readjusted with one arm. Jourdain still did work from the guard and whatever. I don't know. But Marc-Andre Barrio guillotined Jordan Wright in round 1, and that's where I believe he had him with one arm and then did a lot of readjusting and whatever. Jordan Wright is, you know, a glass cannon, and he wasn't able to be the cannon, not once in this fight. Marc-Andre Barrio was just all over him. I forget how this one was even locked up. It's all fucking blurred to me now. But Marc-Andre Barrio, he's a guy that's a more well-rounded fighter coming into this fight. But still, despite his versatility, I expected him to get the victory with strikes. Because generally speaking, that's how Jordan Wright loses. He's got a weak chin. And didn't need to get to there. Marc-Andre Barrio hit the first-round submission. This was total redemption for his loss back in February to Chidi Njokuani. Because Marc-Andre Barrio, you know, he's known as a tank, and tanks don't like to get finished. So that was a, you know, shitty loss for a guy like that. But he redeemed himself well, and while Jordan Wright's career is done, Marc-Andre Barrio moves forward. I love seeing gritty guys like that in the UFC. He could be, you know, Elkins, middleweight Elkins. Next up, Dwight Grant versus Sergey Kanzochko. I don't know. Whatever. Sergey got a beautiful win here via strikes. I believe he was dropped twice, and he dropped Dwight Grant once before the knockout eventually. And it was back and forth. I think Dwight Grant dropped him first, and he dropped Dwight, and Dwight again. I thought Dwight looked really good. He looked like he was fighting at a good pace, you know, which has been my criticism of him going into the fight and in the past, that he just gives away fights. But he showed a lot of grit too. Just Kanzochko was a younger, fresher fighter, I think. That's what it was. He's 7 or 8 years younger than Dwight Grant. Dwight Grant was finished for the first time, in the UFC anyway, recently against Daniel Rodriguez. Now he's 37. It's just, you know, it's that type of thing where when it happens, you say the writing was on the wall, which it's not always on the wall, but now that it happened, yeah, sure, the writing was on the wall that he was going to be fading physically. And he while he looked good offensively, just, this was a fight that tested his defense. They both got dropped, like I said. I think Sergey dropped Dwight first, and then Dwight dropped Sergey twice over the next round and a half. And then at the end of the second round, Sergey rocked Dwight Grant and put him away. And it was like a longer version of the Daniel Rodriguez fight with 2 knockdowns each. So, great win for Sergey. That's a big return for a guy who had a 2.5, 3-year layoff. And he's still a young fighter, probably entering his prime right now. So to get a victory like that over Dwight Grant, which tested him, his durability, his grit and toughness, and also his offense, his power and his output and everything else. And he got a nice finish victory over a bona fide UFC veteran. So, great win. Dwight Grant, I don't know. I'm worried about his chin and whatever in his age, but I'm sure that he'll be kept around. And despite the loss, this was still probably his best fight in the UFC. Although it's tough to beat a back-and-forth 3-minute fight like he had with D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez. I have some more Acadia water. Next up, Arichi Lang took out Cameron Else. This was awesome. Arichi Lang fighting a clear, bigger man, and he made the most of this opportunity, put him away with a body shot, or, TKO, whatever. He TKO'd him, but it started off with a nice body shot, and this was just one and done. Round 1, great victory. I can't say it's going to get better with age, because now Cameron Ellis, I think, is 10-6, and he's probably out of the UFC at this point. Still, he came and went. He got there, so you got to give him that. But Arichi Lang, despite his 2 losses in the UFC, he's the one with the future. He's 1-2 now, but he's still shown to be a good fighter over the course of 3 fights, and he needed a finish like this to prove it, and he got it. Just you never really know what you're looking at going into a fight, but just you'll look back at this and say, on paper, yeah, he's a guy who should have put away a guy like Cameron Else in 1 round, and he did. So, great victory. And I predicted he would win a decision, maybe a round 3 TKO. So, this was really impressive, taking out a bigger guy. Speaking of bigger guys, that's not bad for a transition. Philip Lins takes out Marcin Prokhnio. This was the war I expected. I got this one wrong, betting-wise. I picked under 1.5 rounds, even though I made up for it with the Barrio fight. But Prokhnio is, more durable than I gave him credit for. And so is Philip Lins, to be honest. Both these guys went to war, cracked each other with a lot of big shots. I did think just in general Philip Lins was the sharper athlete and more well-conditioned athlete. It seemed like Prokhnio was getting more tired, and Philip Lins was the fresher fighter, I thought, at the end, and just pulled ahead as the fight went on. But it was a very close fight. I don't want to say razor thin, but it was close. It was thin, and it was exciting. And both these guys needed a fight like this because, like I said coming into it, this is glass cannon versus glass cannon, and they showed that it's not always glass. These guys can take it. And Prokhnio's been 3 rounds on the winning end against Khalil Roundtree. So I know, you can't just write a guy off because you've seen him get knocked out a few times, just like Andrei Arlovsky. But, which Andrei I've seen get knocked out like a dozen times. But anyway, this was a good performance for both guys. I thought Prokhnio held his own. And even though he clearly lost, I think he'll be kept around. And Philip Lins got a nice win at light heavyweight here. So, happy to see them both get a decent performance. Preston Parsons versus Evan Elder was in there somewhere. I think that was after Prokhnio versus Lins. But whatever. I'll do it as if it was before. That was a good fight. That was a really good fight. Evan Elder really impressed me. And I thought he was pretty much shut out. So he was shut down, shut out, and he still impressed the hell out of me. His submission defense. Preston Parsons impressed the hell out of me too. That's a guy who's got really good grappling. I think he had 9 submissions with like a 9-3 record. 3 losses to UFC veterans. All 3 of them, I believe. And he his submissions, 8 of them come in the first round. 1 of them comes in the second round. This is his first decision, I believe, and or at least decision victory. And Preston Parsons looked great. His cardio looked good. His striking looked really good, I thought. That's a guy, and, looked good for a moment against D-Rod. But he's going to knock some people out eventually. He's not just going to be winning with submissions. And if he needs to stand and bang, I feel like he's comfortable enough. I don't know if he trusts his chin or even if his chin is trustworthy. But he's definitely a very good striker offensively. He stays tight. He's got a nice tight guard, and he throws, especially his punches. He sits down on those things, and he's got a good amount of power. Of course, he was fighting a smaller guy, Evan Elder, who came up from lightweight. And Evan Elder, really what I took away from this guy's got heart, and he's got grit. He was still trying to fucking fight out of shit. And he's got great submission defense. He defended an arm triangle probably altogether for like 4 minutes in this fight. So he really looked good. He showed a lot of tenacity for a guy who took this fight on short notice. He was clearly in shape, and that says a lot about him. So, his chin didn't fail him, his submission defense didn't fail him, and he was fighting under very shitty circumstances, and he was still going for it at the end. So, very good performance from both guys. Preston Parsons, I thought, needed a victory like this in his career. A 3-round fight that you can kind of call a war. Not really a war, but it was a test for 3 rounds. And he passed that test for all 15 minutes. So, great win for him. And we'll see both guys continue, hopefully. And that brings us to guys that we may not see continue. Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson, he should continue. He should be 2-1 in the UFC, which is fucking incredible. He got 1 victory via CM Punk, which, whatever. I think they just ruled that a no contest without some drug failure or whatever. They said it was marijuana, but they just said, no, that wasn't even a fight. It's just a no contest. But anyway, this one, it's a legitimate victory via disqualification. He looked good, I guess, in the first few minutes, but he didn't look particularly great. I couldn't say from watching that I thought he was going to win the fight. But I was impressed that his chin hung in there against a good striker like Dean Barry, and he was taking it. I liked his defense, Mike Jackson. He had advantages in this fight in being the bigger guy, but he was still doing really good defensively. Protecting himself, shoulder rolling, whatever. He's definitely a fucking showman, this guy. When he was kicked in the balls right away, and he goes down like, you motherfucker. And this guy's a cameraman. He asks questions. He's doing the press shit and whatever. Trust me when I tell you, this guy went into business for himself. He knows there's a camera on him, and he was milking it. He was trying to be funny and get on ESPN or some viral video or whatever. That motherfucker. Like holding his balls. Like I said online, this guy makes Kevin Holland look like Fedor. Kevin Holland, he's always playing for the camera. He's got to be whatever, that guy trying to go viral with every fucking thing he does. And that's what Mike Jackson was doing, which, whatever. I got to give him credit. He's going for it. This is his moment, and he's trying to make the most of it. He knows, hey, he's whatever, a plus 700 underdog, which paid off via disqualification. But he may as well make the most of it, and he did. But still, this guy, like I said, he makes Kevin Holland look like Fedor. He's just, and that takes away from him too, when he starts milking the nut shot and whatever. And then when he was legitimately fouled again with the eye poke, you're like, all right, I don't know. It's hard to give, whatever. To give any, extra sympathy and empathy to a guy that you think might be milking it, because he was definitely milking the nut shot. But I don't think he was, I do think he was legitimately injured. I thought it should have been stopped. I thought the eye injury was much worse than the nut shot. Because like Paul Felder said with the nut shot, he was sitting there talking like, oh yeah, blah, 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 Tuesday, whatever. He was having a conversation, when you're hitting the nuts, you shouldn't be able to do that. And whatever. But when he was hit with the eye poke, he was, I thought, exceptionally hurt. I thought he was very hurt there, and it was a fight that should have been stopped. And it didn't take long for them to realize that. And Dean Barry, look, he was committing fouls left and right. I don't think he's an intentionally dirty fighter, but he was dirty last night. And he's got to learn to control himself. He's still a very inexperienced fighter. You know, I remember the first time I ever wrestled, my first match, I lost because I should have won like by like 2 or 3 points or whatever. I out wrestled this kid, but I lost because I kept clasping, and I clasped and I clasped, and they fouled me 1 point and 2 points and whatever, and I lost like 3 points, and I ended up losing the match via 1 point. But I should have won. It was just inexperience and whatever, and that's what I attribute this to. Dean Barry, despite being in the UFC and training a long time, I'm sure, this is his like 4th or 5th fight in MMA, and he looked like an inexperienced fighter there. He still looked more comfortable than Jackson, I thought, you know, overall. But he made a lot of mistakes. And Jackson, look, not that, you know, he looked as comfortable as he's ever looked in the octagon. I thought this was, overall, I guess you could say his best performance, considering the opponent and everything else. He was faring well in there. But, you know, just when those counter shots stopped landing and then Dean Barry started leading and taking over the fight, I just thought it was an eventual loss for him. But he pulled it out, you know, whatever. He was legitimately fouled, and I hope you cashed in on it, which I did not. So, yeah, overall, very cool event. I really liked this event. It was a pleasant surprise. I could talk about Bellator. I probably should talk about Bellator. And congratulations to Tyson Fury and whoever the fuck else. But, yeah, this event was awesome from beginning to end. You know, we saw horse shit. We saw contenders emerge. We saw a lot of great fucking submissions. So, really cool night. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will talk to you in a few days when I preview Font versus Vera.